Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about a sort of competitive topic, and that is, are floodgates in Yu-Gi-Oh! Too powerful? So what kind of made me think about this is that I've been playing like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Online and watching some of my friends play too, and it feels like floodgate cards, that is, for those who don't know, those cards that basically, say you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Things like Vanity's Emptiness come to mind, but also cards like Skill Drain, Soul Drain, Imperial Iron Wall, Mistake, just all those cards just are like, you can't do this, or you can't do that, you can't special, you can't use these effects, you can't search, you can't whatever. So, and there are others too. But anyway, so what I'm wondering is, are floodgates too prevalent? Are they too powerful? Because, no, I mean, obviously, I guess you could say, yes, they are, duh, Paul, like, that's why they're called floodgates. But the thing about it is that sometimes it feels like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, the only way to really side deck at all is to side deck floodgate cards. There was a time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where your side deck kind of just consisted of, things like MSTs, things like Extra Book of Moons, little cards like maybe Mind Crush or something that were meant to deal with certain particular threats. But nowadays, maybe even like Maxi and Valor, DD Crow. But nowadays, it feels like basically your side is 90% of just floodgate cards. And that's like pretty much any side deck. Nowadays, if you look at sides, you're gonna see, light imprisoned mirrors and shadow imprisoned mirrors, usually in some capacity. You're gonna see mistakes because you have to have them. And, you're gonna see Imperial Iron Walls. You're gonna see Soul Drains. You're going to see Emptiness if they're not maining it. And it just feels like at this point, that's kind of the only way to combat the meta. Now, I know power creep is a buzzword, but it does exist, it has been happening, and it feels like at this point, floodgates are the only way to answer the speed and just kind of obnoxiousness of Yu-Gi-Oh! When, people are activating 50 different effects in one turn and just moving really fast, and like, things like just a normal summon, that's no longer a thing. Nowadays, decks can do so many things, flood the field so fast, gain field control so quickly, that floodgates are the only answer. And so, I'm just wondering, is there a way for Konami to ever stop this? Now, I don't personally have a problem with floodgates. In fact, believe it or not, up until now in this video, you might think I just hate floodgates, but the truth is, I don't hate floodgates. I actually think that they're pretty cool, and there's some that I especially like and feel that are good for balancing things out. But the thing about floodgate cards is I think that it takes away some of the fun of the game for more casual players who don't necessarily understand their existence and will lose to them and not be happy about it. Because, in competitive play, you expect, something like Mistake to get flipped on you, Vanities, Soul Drain, this, that, or the other, some sort of floodgate card. But, when you're playing casually with your friends, or let's imagine two little kids are playing, little Jimmy and little Bob. Well, if, like, little Jimmy flips up Vanity's Emptiness, the game takes on a bit of a darker tone, because kids are supposed to just sort of build their decks and play, your deck how your deck is meant to play. But when floodgates get added in the equation, I feel like it can kind of make it tough for, younger players or newer players to sort of figure out what's going on exactly. When there are these cards that just say you can't do this aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! You can't activate these kinds of effects. You cannot search, you cannot special, you cannot, do any of these sort of things. I feel like in those contexts, it's not so good. And what I wonder is there really any way for Konami to, like, deal with floodgates, really? I mean, yes, you could just limit the cards, but if you limit the cards at this point, there's sort of this counterbalance where it's like they have to exist for the meta to be any sort of tame. It's like the argument a lot of people make about Vanity's Emptiness. Sure, people want it banned, but the fact of the matter is it's actually sort of a check against the meta, because with Vanities here, you can at least ensure that your, like, tier 2 deck has a chance of stopping or slowing down a meta deck. Without cards like Vanity's Emptiness, some of these decks would be able to special summon so fast and so rapidly with no real restrictions that it would bring the lower tiers down even more. So my question is there a way for Konami to balance how floodgates work? Especially because nowadays, even the non-meta decks, even the sort of low-tier archetypes that get released, like, let's say Infernoids, let's say Yosenju, Ultra Athletes, Fluffles, all these new things, Super Heavy Samurai, and just random stuff like that. Even they are kind of having to use floodgates, but also floodgates can really hamper them. So floodgates don't just hamper the meta, they oftentimes hamper lower tier decks. And those are the kinds of decks that like kids and new players are gravitating towards because, you know, they're a little bit more affordable and maybe even more fun to play, but they get, you know, just blasted by floodgates, then the game gets a little bit less fun. So I don't think the Konami can just easily like, oh, okay, we'll just limit the cards because that means the meta runs rampant. But I think that the only real solution or cure would be to slow the meta down to a point where these floodgates aren't absolutely essential. However, no one really wants the game to slow down. I mean, we say we do, but if the game slowed down, I think people wouldn't be as excited about it. People like moving fast and they like plussing and getting control really quickly. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that floodgates have become a little bit too prevalent? You know, the fact that you see a lot of the same ones in all of the side decks, and that's just the only way you can answer things. You can no longer use, you know, situational cards. It's now just, you have to say no to your opponent. What do you guys think of that? Is that good? Is it bad? And just let me know in the comments. We can talk about it. I think that's all I had to say. So that concludes this discussion. Thanks for watching. Remember, you can subscribe to my channel for more great discussions and other Yu-Gi-Oh videos like this. And like me on Facebook, Twitter. I will talk to you guys later. See ya.